to the fishes in the deep blue sea. Joy to you and me. You know I love my Sundays, love to sing and have some fun. I'm a true believer, I'm a God receiver, and a soul-singing son of a gun. I said a soul-singing son of a gun. Yeah. Singing joy to the world, all the boys and girls. Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea. Joy to you and me. Joy to the world, all the boys and girls. Joy to the world, all the boys and girls. Joy to the world, all the boys and girls now. Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea. Joy to you and me. Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea. Joy to you and me. One more time. Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea. Joy to you and me.
Wow, wow, wow. That was Jimmy and the What Else Is Possible band of musicians and singers. Woo! Let's give them some love. Woo! Oh my gosh, I was just having flashes of Sister Act as I was dancing in the back. Next thing you know, we're going to do Oh Happy Day. Oh Happy Day. You know that one, right? Yeah, right. Oh, Travis, you want to do it? Hello, beloveds. Good morning. It's still July. It seems like it's been July for a really long time, and we have a whole other Sunday after this too. How awesome is that? So, I saw something today this week that I wanted to share with you, and that was, do you know where bad rainbows go? Prism. It's a light sentence, and it gives them time to reflect. Thank you. I'll be here all day. Don't forget to tip your server. All right, so thank you. And now that I know everyone is awake, it's great. So this week is all about the wise warrior. Thank you, Reverend Diane, for that wonderful reading. It was just so perfect. And so what is this idea of a wise warrior? And some of you may be going, I don't like that word warrior, right? That's how we are here. It's like even the word warrior seems like it's kind of a violent thing. So think of it as a champion of truth, an emissary of light, right? And so this wise warrior or champion of truth is focused and does not get ensnared by smallness. Ooh, smallness like I'm not good enough. Look what they did. This is bad. I'm bad. You're bad. We're bad. Everybody's bad. Whatever. I don't like it. You don't like it. What's going on? What are you wearing? You know, on and on and on, right? Whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yes? Okay, good. So we don't get ensnared by that, right? We are going for greatness. And when I think of the wise warrior, I always think of the Karate Kid. Kind of like the Karate Kid, right? And he was trained by another wise warrior, Mr. Miyagi. And so like the well-trained martial artist, when this champion of truth walks into the bar of life, no one picks a fight with him. No one picks a fight with this emissary of truth. Why is that? Because their presence is enough. Their presence is enough. They are solid, and it can be sensed, you know? We sense things. We're feeling beings, and we know things, and we notice things on an unconscious level that we maybe cannot articulate, but we definitely notice things about people when we come into their aura. Their mental space is being shared with us like Pigpen, right? And it's just like emanating out, and so we can feel that. And this reminds me of Thich Nhat Hanh, you know, when I went to see Thich Nhat Hanh in Berkeley many years ago. and he walked in, and he's like larger than life, but he's kind of he was a smaller man, right? And he came in and sat down, and he started talking, and he was talking like this, and it was very quiet. And it was like, what is he saying? I can't hear him. Why don't they turn up the mic, And I didn't understand what was happening. But what I noticed is that the room got more quiet and more quiet and more quiet. Like we adjusted to him. We harmonized with his presence. We began to resonate with him and the peace that he was bringing and that stillness and that quiet, right? And that is a wise warrior. They bring that presence with them wherever they are, like truth itself, they are unmessable with. Unmessable with. Awesome, right? So Ernest Holmes observed that one alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. So when you merge with the divine and remember that you were made in the image and likeness of this presence, of the thing itself, that it is what is happening right now, expressing itself in, through, and as each one of you, then you are unstoppable. Now you may find yourself in a position, experience, or circumstance where you are not experiencing this, and that's okay. The point is to know that it is possible. The point is to have this tool in your tool belt that you can pull out at any time, to have this tool accessible and on the ready when you need it, and to practice it, because we're human beings, we read about things, we hear about things, and then we tend to maybe not put it into practice, right? So you can put this in, sometimes, okay? Sometimes we do that, right? But you can put it into practice in your daily life. So you want to have this tool in your spiritual tool belt and accessible and on the ready. And something may happen in your life and you can say, oh, Reverend Elizabeth said one alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. And you remember in that moment, I may feel alone right now, but I trust in God. I have the faith of God. I know who I am. I have the divine in my life. Whoever has God lacks nothing. I am whole. I am perfect. I am complete now and forevermore. And then the situation before you totally transforms. And why is that? Because you have transformed, right? This experience, amen, thank you. This experience of life is happening, and your experience is your experience, and you get to choose and decide how it will go, right? Things are happening, life is happening, everything is happening all around us, and we get to choose how we're going to respond. Are we going to respond, or are we going to react? Anybody react to things this morning? Right. We learn to respond and not react, and then we get to like ourselves in the situations that we find ourselves in, because that's really what we want to be able to do, like ourselves, so that we can look back and go, I like how I handled that, right? Yeah. The way of the world tends to be a little bit unpeaceful sometimes, right? And there is an unpeaceful, unwise warrior that tends to joust at every windmill that comes along and has an argument for everything. But the wise warrior, the emissary of truth, is already anchored in peace, and poise. And so these wise warriors, emissaries of truth, are focused on what needs to happen without needing to fight. They recognize that all is one already, and all they bring is a recentering into that oneness. One alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. When you are one with the one, you have a majority. So the Greek philosopher Plotinus gave us a path to follow when he said, I do not argue, I contemplate. I'm going to say that again. I do not argue, I contemplate. And then Thomas Troward took that a little bit further and said that the universe creates by contemplation, and so do we. So the collective consciousness, my friends, has taught us to jump up and down, to yell and scream, to communicate outrage over situations. Can anyone relate? Right? Well, while this may feel very righteous, it has proven largely ineffective at creating real and lasting change. So change actually when change needs to manifest in the outer, it begins in the inner. If you don't like what you're seeing on the screen, there's something within you that needs to transform. And it could be a collective consciousness, but it starts with you. And then you find like-minded people. And then there you are, two of you, where two or more are gathered. Then there's 3, and then there's 45, like us today, right? And here we are, and we're creating this new frequency and vibration in the world just by being here, by being present and available to this teaching and this concept that we are creating. We are being the change that we wish to see in the world. Something is happening is what I'm trying to say, right? Just by being here. How awesome is that? Give yourself a little hug. Yeah. So change, when we want change to happen on the outer, it's got to begin on the inner. So sometimes we can make war on the outer circumstances, but that just empowers those circumstances. As religious scientists, we know that there is only one power, and that behind, within, and all around the circumstances, no matter how ugly, there is a divine presence. There's something right in the middle of it, and I call it God. You could call it Spirit, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, the divine, the way, source energy, my creator, love, eternity, whatever, right? There's so many different names to call it by. So when we commit to seeing things differently, we can begin to create our lives differently. And it's a real subtle shift, and you know it when it happens because suddenly things continue to open up and bloom in your life that you love. There's just a constant blooming of goodness, and you're like, oh, skipping around the tulips, dancing with joy and happiness, right? Yes, it can happen. It can totally happen. So we have an opportunity then to look past appearances of things, right? We look past the appearance of things and see the core reality that is present. What is the core reality? Spirit, right? So we have to just look a little bit deeper, just a little bit deeper. Now I know you all already know this. These are just reminders. We're just remembering things that we already know. And prayerfully going out into the world and sharing these little tidbits, a little nugget of information with your friends, or simply just shining your light because you feel a little more free than you did when you walked in here this morning. Yes? Right. So we have that opportunity to look past the appearance of things. And once we see the core reality, we can then coax the reality forward and shift the situation without bloodshed. So what I'm saying here is we actually have the power to co-create our reality. We can change the outcome of a situation. And so instead of getting angry over situations, we can say, what do I want to see here instead? Just skip over the drama, you guys. Like, we're so over it. Why waste your mental, creative energy on throwing a fit? I know it's fun, but, just feels good. Sometimes you got to just do it, But why not take that creative energy and think about, contemplate, because as Troward tells us, this contemplation is creating something. What we think about, we bring about. What do I want to see here instead? What is Spirit's highest idea here? There's got to be something, because I was birthed into existence for a time on this planet such as this, and this is the one precious life that I get to live, and what am I called to do? What is Spirit's highest idea here? Teach me the lesson, Spirit. I'm ready. I'm ready to move forward, right? Have you ever felt that way? Like, I just want the lesson, I'm ready for this. I'm ready. and then contemplate the highest idea instead of arguing with the circumstance or condition that you're seeing in your life that you don't want. Are you with me? Yes. Okay, good. Now, I want to share a wonderful story with you. I was in Santa Barbara, and I was going to start ministerial school, and so they have this thing called colloquium. Did you go to colloquium, Reverend Diane? And was it in Santa Barbara at that wonderful retreat center, St. Mary's or something like that, right? Anyway, it was beautiful, and we had the great joy of having Obadiah Harris as our speaker. Now, you may be wondering, well, who's Obadiah Harris? Well, I believe he's passed away now. May he rest in peace. And he was one of Ernest Holmes' dear friends. And so he was actually hanging out with Ernest Holmes in the end, before he transitioned. And so he's got these really great stories, right? But Obadiah Harris shared with us at colloquium that he was with Ernest Holmes, and Ernest Holmes had just gotten a new car. Sounds like me, right? And the new car was like a new car with all the electric windows, and it was one of the very first ones like that, right? And so they got in, and Ernest was showing him all the cool buttons and playing with all the different things, and Obadiah's going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then all of a sudden, Ernest clips his pinky in one of the windows, and it's bleeding. And Obadiah Harris sees it, and he's like, "Oh no, the new car," right? And then Ernest Holmes goes like this, and then there's no more blood. And Obadiah Harris I think he was driving, and he's like, got to pull over, and he goes, "Wait a minute, what just happened?" Right? What just happened? And he looked, and Ernest Holmes said to him, "I was able to change this condition. If you have access to your innermost self, you can change the outcome of a situation." What? Do you believe that? Yes. I was beside myself. I'm like, "Oh, I am in the right place, honey." Wow. That was so amazing to me. If you have access to your innermost self, you can change the outcome of a situation. Now, how do we get access to our innermost self when we're out in the world? Well, it takes practice. It takes practice because there's all sorts of stuff happening, right? Everywhere you go, there's people everywhere. Have you noticed? There's people and circumstances and situations and personalities, and all of this stuff is happening. Stimulation, But while you're in the midst of that, do you have access to your true self, your innermost self? Do you know who you are? And if you feel like you're a little bit wobbly and maybe you need some practice in this area, you can practice by meditation. Sit in silence. Practice that sitting. Practice being one with the one, being one with yourself, and going within to actually explore that beautiful, mystical, magical kingdom that lives right within you. Yeah. Then you won't want to not bring that with you wherever you go, because it is powerful. It is peaceful. It is divine. It is amazing. And you get centered and in that space, then you have access to your innermost self, even when things are chaotic around us, right? So in his book, Yes, You Can Change the World, Aman Motwani invites us to a 3-focus practice. He says, number 1 is focus not on how little time we have, but on how to make the most of what little time we have with every person. Wow. Number 2 is focus not on what you see on the outside of a person, but on the person within. In other words, see both the pain and the potential within others. And number 3 is to focus not on what's wrong with a person, but on what makes them right. See their strength. Even if you're seeing witnesses, find their strength within the weaknesses. Yes? Yeah. So this is how we become the change we want to see in the world. Now, this may seem like a very small thing in the face of what appears to be overwhelming challenges, but every change starts small and grows. Think of the seeds that are thrown out by various plants, little tiny seeds, right? And Jesus used that example of the mustard seed that were thrown out. They're so tiny. Has everyone seen a mustard seed? I should have brought some with me. But they're so tiny, and they create these 6-foot tall, amazing yellow bushes, right? Well, some think they're amazing, others think they're weeds. But anyway, the point is a small little seed, Change starts with small seeds and grows. So a few tiny plants can soon occupy an entire hillside. So we know that we are one, that we are all interconnected, and thus seeing the intrinsic worth of each person can create change that snowballs into something even greater. Now, an emissary of truth or a wise warrior recognizes and knows that it is not their power that creates this real change. They recognize that they're actually co-creating with the infinite, that the understanding that life is happening through them. So whatever knowledge, whatever wisdom is coming through me today, if I were to be on the path and the way of the wise warrior, I would know that this is the wisdom that is coming through me, and it is Spirit that is channeling, right? Spirit is here today. If it were me, I'd be totally freaked out and afraid and, whatever, right? Self-conscious and all of that. But knowing and being connected to that innermost self, I get to be up here as a wise warrior and allow the divine to speak the word through me. For I know that it is absolutely the divine, and the same thing is happening when you call up a minister or you call up a practitioner or you meet with a practitioner for prayer. You're meeting with them because they are there to connect you with the highest truth for yourself when you can't know it, or when you just want a booster, right? Yeah. And so this emissary of truth knows that it is not their power that creates the change. It is the power and presence of Spirit that is working through us. So we are directing this power always. Now, we have some things that we do because we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So sometimes we'll block it, or we'll channel this high vibrational energy, this frequency that sometimes feels so big and vast. We'll either block it because maybe we feel like we're not ready for it, but what we can do is take it and channel it, right? We channel it and allow it to express through us, right? Allow it to express more love through us, allow it to express more joy through us, more connection, or whatever the God qualities are that you're seeking to experience for yourself and your life. Wholeness, perfection, prosperity, joy, perfect health. You guys, give me some more ideas here, right? Love, abundance, joy, peace, harmony, creativity, limitlessness, infinite potentiality, eternity. What's that? Causeless peace. Whoa. Causeless peace, right? Let's do this, yes. So you get to direct it, right? And so the calling is for us to not wait for something, not block it, but to actually channel it, There's an old saying that goes, I stopped telling God how big my problems are and started telling my problems how big my God is. Right? That's like a book title that you don't even need to read the book, right? It's one of those, isn't it? Yeah, because when you start telling your problems how big your God is, well, it sort of steps in. So what are we waiting for, We align with and become this infinite power of good as we stand in the truth as wise warriors. And we already are. We already are wise warriors. It's not like we have to go out and do something. We're already here and present and connected. All of you are here today by no accident. Spirit nudged you You woke up this morning, Spirit nudged you, and for whatever reason, you came here. And that is what I call divine guidance. And so here we are swimming in this magnificent ocean of devotion together. Look around. Look around at the beautiful souls here who are also swimming in this ocean of devotion with you. We're here for something, and it is Spirit. We recognize that this infinite power of good is within us now. It can't just be something we talk about or something we do. We must be the power of love, harmony, and unity. And again, the good news is that's already who we are. So we're not becoming something we aren't. We're not becoming something else. We're not trying to be different than who we are. We're actually unbecoming who we aren't really. Thank you. Thank you for getting me, right? Okay. And we're spreading that light that we already really are, knowing that by sharing it, we will remind others of their light too, and then they will share it because it feels great to do so. So let us not forget that the truth, to know the truth in our hour of need, right? I think Ernest Holmes said, to forget the truth in your hour of need is to prove that you did not know the truth. Ooh, that's sad, right? That hurts, doesn't it? You know who you are. If you forgot, I'm reminding you now. So we remember the truth in our hour of need because we're going to prove that we know the truth. Why? Because the truth sets us free. And we each have this innate desire to experience love and freedom and all of these beautiful qualities of Spirit, don't we? Yes. So I'm going to share a story about Nehemiah. So Nehemiah of the Old Testament was an Israelite who lived in exile in Babylon and served as a cupbearer to the king. One day, the king asked Nehemiah why he seemed so sad. And Nehemiah told the king that he was sad because his city was in ruin. When the king heard this, his heart softened, and he gave Nehemiah the authority to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the city. Now, not everyone was happy with this plan. In fact, there were several rulers who lived near Jerusalem who grieved about it exceedingly. They said, there's a man who's come to seek the welfare of the children of Israel, and these men just took great indignation and said that they mocked the Jewish people. But fearless, Nehemiah did not allow the opposition to distract him. Instead, he organized his resources and workforce and moved forward with rebuilding the city. Nehemiah observed that the people had a mind to work. The people wanted to work. They were building something, But as the walls of the city began to rise, opposition intensified. Nehemiah's enemies threatened, conspired, and ridiculed them. Their threats were very real, and they grew so intimidating that Nehemiah confessed, they made us all very afraid. Despite the danger and the ever-present threat of invasion that they experienced, their work progressed. It was a time of stress for every one of those builders. They had their sword girded by their side while they were building. So as the work continued, Nehemiah's enemies became more desperate. 4 times they implored Nehemiah to leave the safety of the city and meet with them under the pretense of resolving their conflict. But Nehemiah knew that they intended to do him harm. And each time they approached him, he responded with the same answer: I am doing a great work. I cannot come down. Right? What a remarkable response. I am doing a great work. I cannot come down. With that clear and unchanging purpose of heart and mind, with that great resolve, the walls of Jerusalem rose until they were rebuilt in an astonishing 52 days. Wow. Nehemiah refused to allow distractions to prevent him from doing what God's Spirit, the divine, had called him to do. Friends, don't let the opposition distract you from what you came here to do. You know, you are doing a great work and you cannot come down. Sometimes we can get distracted by the little things, the small things that beg for our attention. And whatever those distractions are, we now have another tool in our tool belt. I'm doing a great work. I cannot come down. Right? Yes. Amen. So lastly, I want to share a little bit about checking in rather than checking out. Now, has anyone ever experienced the desire or the need to check out? Not like check out of a hotel room, but like check out. Like you're in the middle of, some party somewhere and you have gone to the ethers, right? And there's all this stuff happening around you, but you have checked out. Anyone? Yeah, okay, good. I'm not alone. You are my people, right? So now checking out is something common for people who have experienced trauma, right? And it can manifest, though, as a full-on dissociation, which is the nervous system's response to being overwhelmed, right? Now, I see it in smaller ways also with clients sometimes, and in my own personal life as a response to uncomfortable situations, but also uncomfortable thoughts or emotions, right? It makes me uncomfortable, then what happens? So oftentimes we don't even realize what we're doing until we're 3 episodes deep into that Netflix series, right? Anyone binge watching on Netflix right now? It's okay, you can admit it. But not to escape, right? Whatever that latest Netflix obsession is, or having eaten a whole bag of chips and then you realize, I just ate that whole bag of chips. What am I going to do now? Guilty as charged, right? Or I just lost a whole hour of my life scrolling on Facebook, reading about my friends and how wonderful their lives are, right? Full disclosure, I've done all of those things. And I'm planning to do some Netflix and chill tonight. Yes. Oh, yeah. But while checking out can sometimes be helpful, right, to keep our system from being overwhelmed, there's also downsides if it becomes a regular habit. So when we check out to avoid something that is uncomfortable, we are saving ourselves short-term discomfort, right? But in the long term, we've never actually dealt with whatever that thing is that's causing us discomfort, and instead we have created a habit around avoiding it. What? Right? And so the more we do it, the more the avoidance pattern gets ingrained in us and into our routine. And over time, the pattern of avoiding something by checking out crystallizes into a habit. And there we go. We're off and running. So sports psychologist, professor, and professional speaker Rob Gilbert observed, first we form habits and then they form us. Right? Conquer your bad habits or they will conquer you. So over time, again, these habits of avoidance can begin to dictate our lives. We can get so used to watching the TV show after work or going to the bar for that drink to decompress that even on a good day, we will feel lost if we're not doing that particular thing. This can negatively impact our lives, my friends. It can drive a wedge between us and those closest to us because we dedicate our time to checking out when we get home instead of checking in and connecting. What? I'm so guilty of that, right? It's like, right? Telling on myself, that's what we do. Sometimes. So, maybe we eat too many sugary foods or you drink too much beer or wine, and then it starts to affect our weight and our health and so on and so forth. And these habits actually create a greater desire to check out, right? It's a vicious cycle. So the alternative to checking out is checking in. So what if instead we were to check in? Each time that you notice you want to check out, numb out, or escape, take a moment to check in with yourself about what's actually happening inside. First, this could be as simple as bringing your awareness to your breath for a few moments to ground yourself and asking a few simple questions. What am I trying to avoid right now? What am I trying to avoid feeling in this moment? And number 2, what is the story I'm telling myself about this? And number 3, what do I really need in this moment? Wow. Right? I'm going to say those again. Number 1 is, what am I trying to avoid feeling right now? Number 2, what is the story I'm telling myself about it? And number 3, what do I really need in this moment? Friends, the answers may surprise you. The more often you do this, the more information you will gather about what is and isn't working for you in your daily life. And then you can use that information to make changes so you don't feel the urge to check out. The world needs each one of us. We need each other and we need ourselves. So let's check in instead of checking out. And I love what Rumi observed and wrote. Remember, the breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill where the two worlds touch. My friends, that means that the paradox of being a spiritual being, having a human experience, being a soul with a body, being human divine, is always going back and forth across the doorsill, right? Your higher self says, I'm God informed. Your human self says, this is uncomfortable. Your higher self is like, you are magnificent and victorious, and the human self says, I don't think I can do this. But spirit says, who do you think you are to not be happy and whole and perfect, joyous and free? And the human self surrenders to that. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. Yeah. And so there was a great prayer that I heard on Friday at our soul support team meeting that I wanted to share with you. And this was shared by practitioner BJ D. Girolamo. Thank you, BJ. She's not here today, but maybe you're watching. Hello. Hi, Mom. No. The Bodhisattva prayer for humanity. It goes like this. May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the water, a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles. And for the boundless multitudes of living beings, may I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and sky, until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened. And so it is. Yeah. All right, so wrapping it up, my friends, bad rainbows go to prison where they serve a light sentence, giving them time to reflect. These are gems for you to take with you this week. One alone in consciousness with the infinite constitutes a complete majority. Put that one in your spiritual tool belt. You may not be there yet, and that's okay. You're on your way. Keep coming to these Sunday services, and you'll keep learning, and you will be there. It's unavoidable. Every Sunday you're hearing things, you know? And it's like you sit in a barber chair long enough, and what's going to happen? Amen. Thank you. He said you'll get a haircut. So keep coming back. Instead of checking out, practice checking in and see what that's like for you. Remember, if you have access to your innermost self, you can change the outcome of a situation. Be so focused this week on having access to your innermost self that you are absolutely interested in the divine avidly, right? Remember, friends, you are emissaries of truth. You are a light bearer. You are a way shower. You are a doula for good. When the false thoughts try to bring you down, remember these powerful words of Nehemiah. I'm doing a great work. I cannot come down. You can't, you're too X, you're too Y, you're too Z, and so on. I'm doing a great work here. I cannot come down. And lastly, questions to ask yourself this week and journal about. Number 1, when does your mind want to check out? Number 2, how do you feel about seeing the intrinsic value of everyone? Can you step past your fear or distaste and do it anyway? And number 3, moving through the demons of old conditioning takes a fierce warrior focus. How will you remember to keep that focus? And I'm now going to invite Travis up as we prepare for our closing prayer. So while he is getting ready, I invite you to do whatever you need to do to forget about your body. Place your papers on the chair next to you or on the floor. Scratch your nose. Stretch. Move your ankles. Sit up straight in your chair. And get into prayer pose. Prayer pose. And as you do so, you can close your eyes, or if that's not comfortable, you can leave your eyes open and rest your gaze about 3 feet in front of you. It's a gentle gaze. And then just let yourself relax into this moment now. And feel the love that is here in this room. Feel the love that is within you right now. Spirit has birthed us into existence. We are made in the image and likeness of the divine. We are like little godlings walking around the planet right now. Right now we are seated. And as we remember who we are, we have this access to our innermost self, which is unmessable with. We are unstoppable in all that we experience in our lives from this moment forward. It doesn't matter what we have experienced up until now. Anything that has happened up until now has happened in order for us to become awake to the truth of who we are. Spirit in form. And we allow that to rearrange us. And in that rearrangement, something happens. It's like it jars loose anything that's unlike itself and releases it back into the nothingness from whence it came. So that we can be whole and feel that sense of wholeness and perfection that we already are. Each one of us here today is a wise warrior. We are emissaries of truth, and we feel that and experience that. Even if we didn't experience it before, it is happening right here and right now. And this experience of that divine, beautiful emissary of truth is shining. There is a radiant glow about each one of us, and it is drawing in that same frequency. And so there is a harmonious experience of love. There's a harmonious experience of light. There's a harmonious experience of this deep, powerful presence of the divine. Oh, I'm so grateful for this truth. I'm so grateful to know that as we go forward from here and into our weeks, we experience something new. Life looks different. Everything is in a vivid and beautiful, magnificent color, like a technicolor dream. And we remember when the smallness or the irritation or frustrations or sleep deprivation or whatever it is that causes us to feel wobbly, we remember in those moments when those come up that I am doing a great work and I cannot come down, which means I cannot bring myself, I cannot lower myself to experience that negativity. I am doing a great work. I cannot come down for that. And each one of us is doing a great work. And that great work is being you, exactly as you are. And I'm so grateful for the love in this community. I'm so grateful for this energy and this beauty and joy that is created here. I'm so grateful for our frequency that goes out into the world, and it's like a ripple effect, and lives are touched, and our friends' lives and their families are touched, and even our pets and nature and plants and everything feels this beautiful glory, and it is magnificent, and it continues on because we are being the change that we wish to see in the world. Thank you, Spirit. I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for the love that is here. I'm so grateful for the dedication and commitment and beauty of each individual soul that is forever and ever expanding. This bright light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. And so with great gratitude, I release this prayer into that loving and creative action of the law where I know it is done and it is good. I let it go, I let it be, and so it is. Amen. Ashe. Amama Ua Noah. Woo! Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.